Hey, it's your man Uncle D coming to you once again. Just having a conversation with a friend of mine, as usual. And I need to talk to y'all about some things that we're doing. I need to talk to y'all about some of the things that I am seeing on the internet that's reminding me of Rome. It's really giving the Roman Colosseum, but in mass, like on social media type of thing, like the whole thing. Because we are doing some odd things on social media, and I don't know if we're aware how odd these things are. Um, I was watching a video. Actually, there are two videos that I watched, and they to me they go together. And I will post links to the videos in the description. But the first video that I watched, a friend of mine showed me, is a young woman, and it's one of those. I don't even know what this is now. It's some type of dating or meetup or hookup type show. But with this one, it's a reality. It's a celebrity, and the celebrity is a rapper. So there's a young woman, and she's presenting herself, and there's this rapper, and I think it's his son with him in the video. And she's telling this rapper that she has an OnlyFans, and trying to get him interested in her is the object of this whole situation, is what I'm guessing. And this rapper is telling her, like, I want to see pictures of you, spread eagle. He said other words, but I want to see you spread eagle and da 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 da, and give me your OnlyFans. Like, he's really making her the cheapest thing in the room. He gives her, like, because she's like, no, you got to go to my page, and you got to click on my link and da da da. He's like, I got $20 in my pocket here. Now click on open your phone. The most denigrating thing I could think of that could happen in that situation. But for her, I guess it seemed like a win. She has this famous rapper who wants to see her vagina on her phone, and he has given her one of his $20 bills to see that. Your vagina is worth $20. That is the going rate for a look at your vagina. Because that's what just happened, and that's what happened in the video. Is he gave her $20 and she opened up her phone to show him pictures of herself. Now, after that, I watched another video with the young woman, and this was on TikTok, I think it was. And I'm gonna have to put her name in the description because I don't know how to pronounce it and I do not want to mess it up. But she introduced something called social dominance theory. And to me, it just explained the whole thing of what I had watched just a few moments ago. Social dominance theory explains why. She said that men are. Some women have the idea that because men sometimes want to spend time with their friends, that they are gay. And I think I've talked about that at some point. However, she said it's not that they're homosexual, it's they're homosocial. 50 years, never heard that term. I'm like, what? So I leaned in. And she goes on to explain that men do certain things that they think are masculine for the approval of other men, which she couldn't be more on point. Most of the things that men do oftentimes are performative, and they just do it so that they will have bragging rights, so that they can say that they did it. It's not something that they are really. I have a story. It's not even something that they're interested in so much. It's just so that they can keep it's like their pride. It's like a thing with their pride. A friend of mine, yeah, that type of thing. You want to keep up with your analytics and things. So there's a friend of mine, a female friend. Now, my friend is female in this story, right? She's married to this guy, and I got to know her husband, and the husband and I ended up having this conversation. Now, of course, me and my friend, we had known each other for over a decade. So we would talk about, sex and everything. It didn't matter, whatever it was. That's my friendship with her. Excuse me. So she told me about things that she and her husband did or that she liked to do with her husband and da 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 da. Okay. Then I had a conversation with her husband, and her husband didn't like those things. And it was all these years, that she had been married, her husband had been afraid to tell her that the things that she liked to do with him in the bedroom, he didn't like doing them. He didn't like doing them. And they ended up getting divorced. And after the divorce, I mentioned to her that he didn't like doing X, Y, and Z. And she would, that out of all the things that took her aback so much. She's like, what? Like they had been married for a long time, 3 kids in. They like this was a whole family situation, and they planned their time together and date night and everything like that. And for her to feel like all this time he was fronting, which he was. He said, I don't want to do all that. He's like, I'm a regular guy. I want to do regular. I don't want to do all that stuff. Why are you doing it then? Because I'm sure that you probably telling your friends somewhere something like all the stuff that you're doing, and it sounds like you the man. The type of show that I'm referring to on social media, just so that you all have seen this whole thing, the balloon pop show. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The balloon pop show, where a contestant walks into the room and there are people of the opposite sex there. There may be 10 of them or so. Each of them has a balloon. The contestant walks in the room rather, and if they like the person when they first walk in, they don't pop their balloon. If they don't like them immediately upon first seeing them, they pop their balloon. I've watched a few of these. And I can't think of anything more denigrating. First of all, it's judging you, first of all, on your first appearance. It's nothing deeper than that. That you can do with somebody walking down the street. Why do you have to come on a show to watch somebody walk out and judge them by their appearance? That is the basis of things. How did we get to the point where we judge people, where we need to go on a show to judge somebody about their first appearance? Why do we need to do that? If you are going to take the time to go onto a show to present yourself to somebody or have someone present it to you, don't you want to know more than just what they look like the first instance you walked out? I'm not saying that we aren't attracted by what we look at. What I'm saying is there might be something deeper that may attract you in the long run that you can miss out on by popping that balloon as soon as they walk into the room. I think that's the worst judge of a person that we can possibly portray in social media. And the shows that I see, it's us. So now we have this standard where we have a bunch of men or women judging the physical characteristics of another person of color. Why are we here? What purpose does this serve? That same sister, you could pick 10 of her going to the beach. Go to the nightclub, you can see 7. I don't understand why we need to go in front of the world to do this. I don't even know what to call it. It's not a dating show. It's a meat market. And we watch that and we think it's funny. We enjoy the person being humiliated. Because that is what we enjoy. We enjoy their humiliation. Just like that guy, what's his name, Kevin Samuels, when women would call in and they describe themselves and ask certain questions trying to figure out how to get some type of man or whatever, and he would tell them, oh, you a fat pig, or you a fat this, and you ain't never gonna find a high value man. If you want to find a high value man, you need to be reincarnated. You ain't gonna never get one. Like, I was watching videos where he just said this. I was watching videos the other day. Somehow they came across my feed, and those were his words. He said those words to a woman. You need to be reincarnated if you're going to find a high value man. You ain't going to find no high value man. And we listen to that. And we take it in. We ingest it. But here's the part that we forget. In watching that, it's not just the person who is that a commentator is talking about that is receiving that message. It is you as well. You are receiving these messages of how to judge men and how to judge women You were receiving these messages and now you were down with it. You are in acquiescence. You are in agreement. And we forget how powerful agreement is. I took the last video I did, we talked about agreement, how Hitler didn't need to convince the Germans about the Jews. They were in agreement. They were in agreement. He didn't have to push them or convince them or anything. He didn't have to twist their arms. He didn't have to show up at their houses and put guns to their heads. They were in agreement. And that's why that atrocity happened. When we agree about things that are horrible, that are in no ways that we should be judging other people. Excuse me. I know I have candy in my mouth, dry mouth, and sitting here talking. Forgive me. But yeah, that's how we judge people that way. And what we don't really understand as we come into the end of 2024 with over 80 mass shootings and the number of people killed, and I can't even count. And today. Yeah. As we move with all these mass shootings and things like that, and we don't see the damage that it does in society, we begin to get together and group think these horrible things. Because it's usually when we get together in groups, it's usually groups of people that come up with horrible ideas. It's not just the individual. It's when we sit together and we sit and our worst seems to come out and come together because we like to commiserate. There's something about commiseration that brings people together, and which is why we have so many hate groups in this country. People like to sit and hate on other people together. It makes them feel better. Everybody likes to kick the next man down. It makes you feel like you're a bigger man, like you have a bigger stake in society. And you don't. You don't realize where the boots really are coming from. The boots that are you're pushing it down, but there's a boot pushing you down as well. And we don't get that. We have gotten locked into social media. We have gotten locked into the newest movies coming out, the newest video games, anything that is electronic that is going to ping our brain and deliver the dopamine that we have been seeking all day. That is what we are going to pick up and we are going to go to. And we do it, the Roman Colosseum. To distract from what is happening, they have us looking at phones and looking at tablets and looking at computers and looking at televisions, looking at screens. That's why if you look now, there are screens everywhere. There are screens at bus stops. There's screens in barbershops. There's screens in your churches. There's screens in the nightclub. You go to the club, that was the one place there used to be no screens. There was no TV. Now there's screens. They want to it's to keep us locked and loaded, to keep us docile. It is the greatest anesthesia that this entire, I don't even know what to call them. Plutarchy? I'm going to look up the word and I'll find out. But I believe it's Plutarchy. That's what it is that they use against us. They have our attention. All they have to do is put drama and atrocity and sex, and we are locked in and loaded. We're here all day. We don't tune in to the things like this. Where we need to have discussions. We need to have group forums. We need to have community forums where we think tank. And we don't have that because we are so engaged. We are so engaged with our lives. But we have time to look at the Balloon Pop show. And we have time to be judged by celebrities, however ignorant they are. We have to rethink. We have to begin to rethink. It is not going to get better if we don't make it better. There is nothing that is going to happen. There's nobody who is looking out for your best interest. Back to originally what I was talking about earlier, though. The performative masculinity that we don't realize is part of a patriarchy, which is also part of colonialism, which is part of our own denigration. We don't realize that. We uphold it. We think that spouting the attributes of what we think manhood are going to get us across the finish line. I had a young man many years ago tell me, and this is trying to figure out how much context to give with this. So the young man had been to jail at least 3 to 4 times in his life. He had at that time 3 children, and his girlfriend at that moment was pregnant. And I asked him why. He wasn't working. He was living in a shelter, or had just moved out of the shelter in with the pregnant girlfriend who was 15 years younger than him. And I was like, what are you doing? Why would you have another kid? And he said, because we have to, we got to make more people to keep the race going. Who the fuck told you that? Yeah, I had to ask that question. Who the fuck told you that? If we don't do it, but what are you giving your kids aside from that? You just got out of jail. You have no job. You're living with your girlfriend who has her own set of issues, which I won't say here, but you're living there with her. Why is it that you think that bringing another human being into your madness is going to somehow make your situation better? I need you to rethink that idea. It's not having kids that is going to make it better for us. It is making better children. It's making better human beings. Instead of making more of them, why don't you use the time that you have left on this earth to make the ones that you already have here better? That's a plan right there. It'll take you the rest of your life to finish that. You don't need to keep making people. What we do need to do is make the ones that we have here better. And that's something that we're not doing. We seem to think that they're here, that we bring people here, and once they get here, oh well, they'll figure it out. How's that working for us? How the fuck is that working for us? See, I remember not too long ago, I have an older sister, and my older sister and I ended up at the same nightclub on the dance floor, and we were standing next to each other. And she looks at me, and I looked at her. She started laughing and stuff. And then she looks at me and she says, when's the last time you saw your father? And I don't know. But here's the thing. I said to her, ask your father, when is the last time he saw me? Because I didn't bring any children here. There's not one motherfucker on this planet that I am responsible for except me. I don't give a shit that I am an adult. He's still my father at the end of the day. He should be looking for me. He should want to know what the fuck is going on in my life. Not the other way around. I know exactly where the fuck he is. He's on his couch at such and such avenue on such and such street in such and such city in such and such state. I know exactly what the fuck he's doing. I know what he's doing. Why do I need to go look for him? I was watching a movie the other night, Axel F. One of my favorite actors, producers, comedians of all time is Eddie Murphy. And I didn't appreciate that man until the last 10, 15 years. I did not appreciate him until I finally got a cable channel. Excuse me. I treated myself to a cable channel, and they started playing old Eddie Murphy movies. And 48 Hours came on. The genius of 48 Hours. The genius of Harlem Nights. The genius of most of his work. But when I was watching Axel F on Netflix the other day, this is the final Beverly Hills Cop installment. If you don't know and you haven't seen it. And again, I've seen all the other ones. See, because again, he's one of my favorite actors. So I'm watching this, and in this particular installment, there's a conflict one of the conflicts in the movie rather is that he and his daughter, who I didn't remember from the other ones, she just popped up out of nowhere, Jane. So he and his daughter have an estranged relationship. Of course, his daughter lives in Beverly Hills and he's still in Detroit. And her thing has been that her father has always dedicated him has been more dedicated to his job than her. And she has been, always trying to have a relationship and please her father. She's actually a lawyer out in Beverly Hills. So there's this point where she gets involved over her head with a murder case, and the people are out to kill her. So he flies out to Beverly Hills, and that's what gets him back out there. And they end up talking in the car. And there's a part, and I actually recorded, and she says, "You are the parent." You will always be the parent, and I will always be the child, no matter how old I get. What? That's something that doesn't diminish. It changes if you are lucky into one of the most beautiful friendships you can have, but it doesn't diminish. See, too many of us are hung up on that old bullshit. I'm not my child's friend. I'm not one of your little friends. And somebody said, I used to be of that mindset until somebody said, your kid needs friends. Who do you want them to have as a friend? Little Bobby, who doesn't know a whole lot and is in the same grade? Or you? Wouldn't you want your kid to have a friend like you? We have to change the way that we think. We are still trying to raise kids according to the way that we were raised, when the world that we were raised in doesn't exist anymore. How can you do that? I've heard parents say, well, it was good enough for me. That's the standard you want to go by? That's the best you have? People like that to me aren't fit to be parents. If the best you have is what you were given, you should give that kid to somebody who is better suited. Yeah. Because that's ridiculous. But I think most of the shit parents do is ridiculous. I don't think we parent well in this country at all. But you've heard me say that time and time again. That's nothing new. That is really nothing new. But we do have to stop with this groupthink thing. This is why we can't get past our relationships with each other when between the sexes is what I'm talking about. That is why it is such a big issue. And what I can't figure out for the life of me is when I do watch these podcasts, it's always somebody of one sex asking how to get somebody of the other sex to do something, or what they should do because somebody of the other sex did something to them. Why do we live our relationships so according to what somebody else is doing? And I heard that I heard two podcasters, not just podcasters. I don't know if they call them influencers. I don't know if these people are really coaches of some sort, life coaches. But both of them said there's not going to be any change until you change you. You're not, and even Iyanla Vanzant came onto one of these shows and she said, you're not going to meet anybody but yourself. You are not going to meet anybody because you can't attract anything to you but you. That, if there is one thing I wish we would explain to kids the minute that they get into kindergarten, is you can't get nothing but you out of this fucking world. You can't get nothing but you. So when you sitting and you thinking that you pissed about something and that's going to solve it, or violence is the answer, you can't get nothing but you. When you think you scheming and you slick, you can't get nothing but you. When you think you the man and all these hoes want you, let me tell you something, sir. You can't get nothing but you. And ma'am, you think you playing these players? You can't get nothing but you. That should be drilled into our heads from the time we understand sentences. You can't get nothing but you. So you need to make up your mind about what it is you want, who you are, and how your life is going to be. Because you can't get nothing but you. I don't care how much you stomp and clap and cry and pray, you can't get nothing but you. That's why your prayers don't work. That's exactly why your prayers don't work. You haven't worked on you. You want somebody to deliver you a gift from heaven. No. Heaven is inside you. Change your insides. They're filthy. You have let people walk up inside of you and leave dirt and debris all inside of you. You haven't taken the opportunity to clean it out. And you want something to come up and show up and it's sparkly and new. No, you ain't sparkly and new. You're filthy. You got all the behaviors that you kept from your last relationship. You got all the suspicion that you have had all your life and has ruined all of your relationships. You still haven't worked on how your temper is. Your relationships with your kids is terrible. And yet you want somebody who's going to show up and fix your life. But you ain't going to get nobody but you. I promise you that. So we need to think about who it is we are and stop trying to think about how we can get other people to bend to our will, because that is ultimately what we're trying to do. We are trying to manipulate people. We're trying to figure out how we can manipulate this one to do what we want and how we can manipulate this one to do what we want. I don't know if this is true or not. If it is, if somebody has the answer to this, please tell me in the comments, because 6 black chicks on Instagram, I think, and Facebook, I believe that's SBCC, something like that, whatever. If you know who I'm talking about, if you know, you know. So I read their post that they put up, and it's supposedly letters from people about how to solve these situations. And the stuff is so outrageous, I really don't know if it's true or not. I'm going to say that. But if it is true, oh my God, we have problems. If any of that is true, we have problems. Because all of it is a manipulation. Every single letter is a manipulation. How do I get this man that I have cheated on to come back to me? How do I get this woman that I had a baby with another woman outside of our relationship to come back to me? It's all stuff like that. How do I manipulate this situation? That's all it is a bunch of manipulation. And we don't realize how much time we spend trying to manipulate. Because we haven't been taught how to sit still and be. You need to sit still and be you. That's the only way you're going to attract you. You need to find out who that you is that you're trying to attract, though. And don't let nobody come. See, one of the things that I find all the time, and this is if you've had this experience, you know exactly what I'm talking about. So in the midst of you trying to heal, you in the midst of getting rid of some of the things that you have, you're trying to purge some of the things from yourself that no longer serve you. And here come a nigga, or here comes some woman, and they seem to be the exact thing that you were looking for at the moment. Right. But you know in your head that you ain't even at the place that you want to be, right? So what do? What do most of us do? We pause in our development and we go play in this relationship, only to find out that all we did was bring the same thing that we stopped in that development at. The person that came into our life matched that thing right there, wherever we stopped at. And they can't go no further, though. They don't want to go no further oftentimes. That is the pinnacle of their development. They do not want to be anywhere else. They are what we call comfortable. That dirty word. That's a dirty word. I want everybody to know that comfort is a dirty word. Everything that we do needs to be outside of that. Because everything that's going to get and bring to you what you think you want in your life is going to be on the other side of comfort. It's not going to be sitting home chilling. It's not going to be doing the same things that you do day in and day out that you know how to do. It ain't going to be hanging with the fellas or hanging with the girls. It's on the other side of comfort. Everything, all your dreams, all your desires, all the money you know that you can make, all of it, Antoine, is on the other side of comfort. Yeah, sometimes I got to do that. It's on the other side of comfort. All that to say, in your development, one of the best things that you can do in your purging, in your trying to grow, in your spiritual development, whatever it is you want to call it, your detachment, your deconstruction, whatever it is that you call it, one of the things that you're going to have to do at the end of the day, at the beginning of the day, actually, is you're going to have to educate yourself. And you're going to have to you're going to have to question everything you think you believe. Everything you think you believe. That's not an easy task. but it is worth it. It's one of the most freeing things I have ever experienced in my entire life, to ask myself questions about the things that I have accepted so wantonly and so freely from so many other people. And to ask myself why I was so willing to accept these things from other people. This information that is incorrect, this information that is neglectful, this information that compromises my dignity and my integrity as a person, this dishonest information. Why was I willing to accept this information and not speak up? Because that's what we do in our society. But it's not something that we can tolerate any longer.
Go along to get along.
And that's the problem. We've been taught that go along to get along. Thank you. That just keep your head down and keep moving. Don't worry about it. Da, 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 da. And before you know it, you're indoctrinated. You are fully invested in whatever this whole group think is. And now it's so ingrained in such a part of people. I know that there are people who can't fathom not believing in the God that they believe in. They can't fathom what it would take to get rid of that thought in their mind. I know. Some of y'all are like, what?
I couldn't wait for it. One sentence said to me, and I jumped. And that was, you don't have to go outside yourself
for nothing. Not one thing. There's the fact that we believe that we were born into something called sin, when actually you were born complete with everything you need. Every single thing. All you have to do is know what you want. That's all you really have to do. And we're not taught that, because I was listening to somebody say it actually earlier this evening, because what would happen is if you stop having a bunch of kids who do little more than grow up and work in companies and factories and make other billionaires rich, that's what they want. That's what they want to keep on happening. That is the design. It's not designed for you to get rich. It's designed for you to keep being a middle class person, or a lower middle class person, because many of us are more. If one check is gonna fuck your household up, you're a lower middle class person. Poor. We could say that, but we're not. But that echelon of people keep the same thing going. And the billionaires, soon to be trillionaires, that's what they anticipate. They know that all y'all gonna do is get on y'all phones and fuck. Y'all gonna pop out babies and think it's cute. You ain't gonna invest in a whole lot. You ain't gonna try to gain generational wealth. You're gonna look for a good job with some good benefits. And they'll give you what they think are good benefits for this country. They'll give it to you. Just so that you raise your kids with that same idea. To have kids, to go. How many people were raised thinking that a government job was gonna take care of them, because that's what the generation before them taught them? And how many furloughs did we have in between 2020 and 2022 for government workers during COVID? When there's nobody to be spared, there's nobody to be spared. So we have to take a look at that. Listen, nobody is coming to save us. I say this all the time. There's a few individuals, and I hope that they find this video, who are willing and have the know-how and have the understanding about what it is that needs to be done. It can't be the same things that we've always did, because that will get us what we've always got. We don't understand the way that our thinking permeates through society and contributes to our own detriment. We don't understand that the venom that I heard a young man say, that women have a monopoly on reproductive rights, and he was of color, and I couldn't even let him finish when the words formed in my head and the thought came clear. I just scrolled. I couldn't even say. I didn't want to hear the rest of what he said. I couldn't participate in listening to what it was that he was saying, because I can't believe you say that in a country where a bunch of men took away women's right to abort a fetus out of their own body that you will never experience. I can't believe that he even said that. But we allow this shit. We allow we allow it because I bet you there's somebody out there fucking him. There's somebody out there fucking them. And I think that is what women need to understand. That might be your greatest currency. It's the one thing. It's the one thing that men can't get from anywhere else except women. That and children. Well, it's basically the same act, but yeah. I don't understand. I don't understand how there are still women who fuck these men. And y'all need to pull them into a closet. Y'all got to get these sisters. Like, I'm all for women joining, like, forming different coalitions around communities. And the bitches that are, not in pocket, we gonna have to go see Sarah on Tuesday. Tuesday at 2 p.m. is Sarah and 50 women. Sarah, we need to talk to you. You gonna have to stop fucking them. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. It's for the betterment of everybody. Until this is fixed, we gotta stop. I don't understand what is sexy about having your reproductive rights taken away. What makes you want to fuck a nigga who can tell you that you gotta have a baby if you don't want to? If he isn't spouting the same thing about your body that you are. But what I've come to find out is men and women alike don't know enough about each other's bodies. What kills me is I think I know more about women's reproductive organs than most of my straight male counterparts who actually have sex with women. And that scares the shit out of me. That terrifies me. Because how do you let them into a spiritual place like that and they don't even know they don't even know the framework of the house. They don't know the framework of the house and y'all are letting them in. You have the power. There's another nigga who's smarter and don't have those same views. You just gotta wait a second. He will find you. I swear he will find you. You can't keep fucking the goofy niggas. Because they are gonna keep perpetuating this shit against y'all. Like, there are people there are men who actually want to be on your side, and we can't, because then we look, and Sarah is fucking Jeff. We done told Sarah to stop fucking Jeff. I don't know how that translates into sexiness, to have somebody who doesn't know about your body touching you. I don't know if that is something that y'all even think about when y'all are, I doubt, like, at a certain point, I guess it doesn't matter, but don't you want somebody who know? The amount of you that don't have orgasms during regular intercourse is fucking weird. The fact that there are men out there who actually think that the female orgasm is something there's some men who think that it's made up still. I wish I could have saw that. There's some men who believe that the female orgasm is made up, that it actually doesn't exist. There are some men who believe that not that it causes hysteria. What is the other thing? That it's not, because it's not necessary for reproduction, that it's not necessary for women to have them. It's necessary for a man to have an ejaculation in order for reproduction, but it's not necessary for women in order for there to be reproduction. So they don't believe women need to have orgasms. These are the people y'all are fucking. And then you wonder why you don't have an orgasm. Then you wonder why, y'all wonder shit about men because you don't know that he don't know. You don't know that he don't know. But then there are women who give birth to sons and can raise them from 0 to 18 and still can't tell you how male bodies work. They still can't tell you that, there's a condition that happens with a bunch of young men. It's happened to at least 3 men in my family where the vas deferens cord will wrap around the testes and cut off circulation and make it necrotic. Happens a lot. More than you think, anyway. Women don't really know that. So y'all need to stop touching each other until you learn better. I don't know what. See, maybe in my head, in my head, it's simple, and there's a possibility that I might have a neurodivergency, but that's aside. So in my head, it just seems like if you give people better information, and you make that the part and you parcel a culture for your society, that your society would do better. I'm obviously an idiot because that's not what we're doing. We're giving misinformation. And then on top of that, the people, once they realize that, this certain part isn't true. You've been told this all your life, but it's not true. We go, oh, okay. And then we carry on and just go, okay, well, that's not true. But we don't ever go, well, wait a minute, what about the rest of this shit? If they lied about that, I might need to find out for myself. Not enough of us do that. And I understand. I watch people. I'm a people watcher. I love to go to places where there are people and not talk to them at all. I will go and stand at a place where I can see most of the people and just observe. And I see that there are people who have no concept of certain things. I see that there are people who are raised in cultures where some of the ideas that they're just not going to get it. You know that they don't have, there was nothing put into them to grasp these type of ideas. And at first it's terrifying. And then you get with some acceptance that it has to be you. It has to be you each and every time. It has to be you who picks to go and get more information. It has to be you who finds out what is really going on. It has to be you. Nobody's going to tell you the truth about anything. You have to find out. Your parents don't know. Your grandparents really don't know. We are in a time where we have access to information like we've never had before. And we use it to play Candy Crush. What is it? GTA? It's a video game. Y'all know what I'm talking about. All these things. They just made a whole series on Netflix about video game animation. And when I say it's not like a documentary series. It's a series that they made using animation from famous video games. So you've taken the animation from the video games and now you've made it a whole cartoon series. So you brought all your gamers over to video media.
Monopoly of minds.
I was watching a young man on TikTok. I'm gonna say this, and I'm gonna get out of here. And this young man, he I forget his name, but he always talks about deep dives into like current events and things like that. And he was talking about the ban on TikTok. And he was talking about, he cleared up some things for me because I didn't know that what they're talking, when they say the ban on TikTok, they're not talking about banning the app. They're talking about banning it in the app store. So what'll happen is, if they don't sell it in the app store, you're not able to get app updates and things like that. So eventually, anybody who has the app, like you'll be able to keep it on your phone, but after a while, it'll be non-functioning because it won't be able to keep up with updates and stuff like that. So that's what they're talking about. It's not like immediately in January it's going to shut down type of thing is what he was saying. But he was saying that this whole thing is over our information, which is why the American people want the Chinese company to sell it to an American company so that they can protect our information. And they said, right, y'all steal our information more than anybody.
Exactly. They even started this shit.
Like, I don't understand. And I'm grateful to applications and stuff like that where I can find out more information, because there's no way I'm taking that much time out of my day to deep dive into why TikTok was gonna, if I wasn't gonna, I didn't care that much. I'm not reading all these articles. I'm not looking up. I appreciate that there are people who do it for me. Not to say that their information is impeccable, but it at least gives me a better footing to start doing my own research on. Like, I don't have to do as much. I have a better starting point. And I don't think many of us are taking these starting points seriously. We're not taking the starting point seriously. I don't know. The reason I even do this particular podcast is because friends of mine, when I stopped doing it before, asked me. And I was like, I don't know if I have anything to say. And I still feel that way on most days. But I hope that there are people who feel that there are conversations worth having. And I hope that I'm touching on some of the subjects that they want to talk about at least. But I don't know what it is and why we don't have more conversation. I can't think of anything more entertaining than sitting around with a bunch of adults discussing the ideas that we need to take our society, our culture, or even just our group, whatever group that could be, further. Um, my goddaughter, and I hope I do get to see you 3 times next year. I used to, when I was living with them in Maryland, I would come out to the living room, and me and her mother, we would just sit there and talk, because we were both psychology majors at the same school. So we just fell into this thing of sitting down, having these conversations that would last for an hour or two about topics like these. What do we do about these types of things in our community? How do we change this attitude? How do we change ideas? Because until the ideas change, we can't keep the same ideas of the types of music that we have and expect our society to get better, because music is the temperature of the society. It actually is the thing that can change the temperature of society. People use music for a variety, you know. So if we aren't even listening to good things, how can we begin to do good things? If we still concentrating on ass shaking and them hoes and this money and all the rest of this other stuff, that how do we save the young kids who think that that's their only way out of their life? We have to give them better options. We have to give them something to look forward to. We actually have to give them an example, and I don't think many of us are doing that. I asked a question on my last podcast, and I don't know many people who answer the question. Outside of your relationships to other people, who the fuck are you? The topic that I talked about earlier, the social dominance theory, for all the men who think that they need to do something performative in order to capture the attention of women. Because you don't, it's not that you like women. You really don't. Most let me not say most. A lot of men don't like women. A lot of men don't like women. You deal with women because you're told that you're supposed to deal with women. You deal with women as part of a societal norm, but you don't really like them. You don't respect them. You don't treat them like people. You don't treat them like your friends. You don't even want anything from them. You don't want to talk to them. You don't want to hear them talk. You don't want to be around them most of the time. You don't have much in common with them. You don't find out what it is about them that they like and think and do. You do all of these things performatively so that you can say that you have a woman, so that you can say that you married, so that you can say you have kids, so that you can say, 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 so that you can say. That's all it is. Because if you actually cared about these things, you'd actually take care of them. If you actually cared about your woman, the amount of cheating and things like that on the side of men wouldn't happen. If you cared about your kids, the amount of neglect and, desertion wouldn't happen. If you actually cared about those things, we would take, as black men, would take better care of them. We wouldn't go on shows where there's a balloon pop situation because the sister walks in and she has on a wig or a weave or something. What if the sister had cancer? What if she had alopecia? That's something that she couldn't control, or something that you're gonna hold against her as a person. But what if she also had a PhD in physics and was working as a professor somewhere and as an astrophysicist and was doing all these things at the same time? Like, our priorities are fucked up. You have reduced some woman's worth to a balloon pop. And we think that women should love us for that. They're supposed to fall in love with men who do that, men who think like that, men who think that that is okay. These are the same men that are supposed to protect and provide for them. The balloon pop motherfuckers. Good luck. Good luck. But if you have any questions, if you want to talk, you can always email me, imrealdevious@gmail.com. You could leave a comment right up under the video. For those of you who did, I did respond. So you can go ahead and check your comments or whatever. But I was so surprised that there were people commenting. Thank you. I appreciate you. I really, really do. But yeah, you can always email me, imrealdevious@gmail.com, or leave comments right up under the video. Please don't forget to like the video down here. And if you comment and subscribe, I think the button is up that way somewhere. So subscribe. All right. I'm the Devious Griot. I'll see you next time right here. So.